been a stinky, smelly, cheesy smell wafting around Roblox recently. And a lot of people may think that it's Sonic's dirty feet, but it's Sonic's owner. And that's Gamefam Studios. If you don't remember, recently, Gamefam has been at the center point of controversy, specifically around Funky Friday. See, Ninja Muffin, the developer of Friday Night Funkin', is looking at legal options after Funky Friday partnered with, officially, Sega to promote things in their game, making a lot of money from that. And Ninja Muffin's like, hey, I don't want corporations making stuff out of this, blah, blah, blah. But today, we've got a slightly worse controversy here. Centered around the alleged ex-employees of Gamefam talking about what they apparently experienced during their time at Gamefam. And it's not good. It's real stinky. Digital Purgatory tweeted a couple days ago, coming out with my experience on Gamefam. And the very first paragraph brings down the freaking hammer. To begin with, this whole situation with Gamefam, they are a predatory company that tries to create a monopoly on the Roblox site by buying out other games and integrating them into their company. I would not generally trust them if they approach you with an offer to advertise your game, especially now of all times. Not only do they try to create a monopoly, but they underpay some of their positions in this market. Some 3D artists like me are paid $17 an hour with a salary of $30K a year. In this industry, most of the standard is at least $35 an hour with a salary of $75K. While I was employed under Gamefam, it was a constant struggle due to heavy crunching in the development team. Because we were mandated to update Sonic Speed Simulator every week, this was a heavy toll on my mental and physical self, as I had to devote a lot of time to not just the development of the game, but also because I take care of my dad. And I tried explaining this to the team and higher-ups, and they mostly understood my situation. I eventually was cut from full-time to half-time hours without any notice. They have absolutely no communication when it comes to decisions, and when I tried speaking about the matter as professionally as I could with human resources, I was basically just ghosted. So from what I can gather here, these are reports about like a lot of crunching going on in the studios, and crunching is when you really need to put in work hours and work hours to get something out as fast as possible. And that's like one of the main things you want to avoid in the industry, because it is so horrible having to put in so much overtime hours. Dude, I think overtime hours should be illegal personally. I hate that so much. It's such a toll on the mental health and stress. And apparently, according to this guy, they're getting paid $17 an hour with a salary of $30K a year for this stress. Honestly, if that were me, I would be fuming. I would hate that. Essentially, I slaved away every week, working the nights while also taking care of my dad, who has complications due to reasons, putting in my best effort and work into every task, just to be belittled and ignored and put on half time, cutting my pay in half. So not only do I go from $17 an hour, which is just not even half of the salary of a 3D artist, I get cut in half even more. At that point, it's just more than robbing me of my time and money. I think it is ridiculous if you're gonna just cut an employee's time in half. Like, I think that's crazy. Like, at that point, I would get out of any company that does that. That's such a huge, like, downgrade from what you were paid before. And if you're going from 17 to what would that be? Like $8.5 an hour? That sounds ridiculous. That is horrible. At the end of October 1st, I ended up working on the Werehog update for Sonic Speed Simulator. I worked hard to get the animations to the highest of quality that I could. When I submit my work to be used in the game, I get a notice that I was terminated from the company that I didn't even notice until the next Monday to check on my tasks for the week. And to add insult to injury, they show off the last asset I heavily worked on their Twitter here. So that is crazy. This guy is accusing them of crunch hours, cutting their pay in half, and then terminating them like straight up without notice, which absolutely paints Gamefam in a really, really bad light. You don't want a negative light like that in this game industry. Not only does it turn players off your games, it turns off future employees, it also turns off potential future partnerships. If like Sega saw any like Gamefam controversy going on and they were like, oh no, that's not very good, ooh, they're not gonna partner with them. So yeah, it's not looking good for Gamefam, but it gets worse as well. Another apparent Gamefam employee on Twitter posts, hi, I'm the Gamefam employee who brought Digi and the rest of Sonic Simulator on. While at Gamefam, I was fired with no notice and encouraged to work for free for a week with no compensation. This is my story. So apparently they were an employee of Gamefam for 4 months in 2021. I was giving a starting salary of $55,000 a year with health benefits, something I initially found to be generous. Later on, I would not say it accurately reflected the proportion of work that was asked of me in any way. At first, I was tasked with taking over an existing game from an employee being moved to another project, where I was asked to manage a team of Turkish game developers entirely new to the Roblox platform. This will become an important trend. I would spend each day checking in with them on the present project state, planning for the future, communicating with investors, my own bosses, and more. It was a full-time job by itself. My first month or so at Gamefam went decently well. It started going downhill when I was given a second project to become producer of, as I was told most producers of the company did. I was an associate producer at this point, it's important to note. The project was ambitious and to be created from the ground up. On top of regular producer responsibilities, I was given the task of teaching an entire team of artists and programmers who'd never touched Roblox before how to use every single relevant aspect of Roblox Studio. I just want to stop it right there. That sounds horrible. Man, bringing in people who have no idea, have never touched Roblox before, and teaching them how to do all that? That is wild. That's like teaching a baby how to drive a car. That requires full-time work. Of course, this is all my opinion though. All of these wonderful developers were also speaking English as a second or third language in countries across the world, making time and language barriers add even more challenge to the work. It was at this point I began falling behind on both projects due to the immense amount of work on my plate, while my higher-ups only offered sympathy, comparisons to their own unfairly high workloads, and comparisons to my co-workers. One such comparison was my boss telling me a fellow producer stayed up for an entire week before his project launched, implying I should be more like him. So they go on to talk about how they were promised increased help, and then they were rejected, and apparently at one point they say, I was even told that I need to watch my tone and be grateful I was even being given a chance. Once again, like, painting Gamefam as an apparently toxic game studio to work at, and you've heard about like toxic game studios before, like all across Roblox, across the gaming industry. It sounds horrible. I don't know, like I would never want to be like a video game programmer. From all the sounds of everything that happens, it does not sound good. And then it gets worse. It was at the end of that week that I said my last goodbyes and chose not to come back. I never received any of the severance I was promised in my original firing meeting with the CEO, or any compensation for that last week of work. In many ways, it was my fault for agreeing to work without a contract in the first place. If what they're saying is true, like apparently they were working without a contract here, and so they like didn't have any legal means to get that compensation and that severance, which I think is a horrible, horrible thing to do. Like, if you're gonna work for a game dev studio as like a full-time job, like that's a contract that you need to do. Like, you gotta get the contract going on, and I think that should be on them to offer the contract to these developers. Because, and this is gonna be a big point I bring up later, a lot of these developers, they're on Roblox. They're making Roblox stuff. These guys aren't like industry pros. This is likely gonna be their first jobs in the industry. And if you're like doing like toxic work environments apparently, or like no contract work and then not giving them any severance, as they say, then that honestly is a very, very bad picture. That paints it in a very negative light, and I don't have any respect for that. Now, they do go on to say the developers of companies like Gamefam are usually the ones already suffering enough. I've since spoken to many current Gamefam employees, and I'm told things are better. I hope this is true, but I've heard enough to have my doubts. And I'm sure one of which is the Gamefam Studios response that they posted on the same day. I'm just gonna like rip the curtains down and tell you how it goes. It's a big nothing burger. In fact, it's worse than a nothing burger. It looks like a straight up PR response. It's like an advertisement. Gamefam Studios tweets a statement about recent events surrounding Gamefam. On the Monday following one of our biggest weekends ever, where we broke records and achieved new heights of creativity, because RB Battles was released and everyone was looking for bits, we wanted to take a moment to celebrate our company, our team, and our history of delivering amazing experiences for amazing communities with a healthy, happy studio. Okay, that sounds ridiculous. Or like they don't even address the controversy here. Like they say in the tweet, a statement about recent events surrounding Gamefam, and then they don't say anything. They just say it's a healthy, happy studio, which from the sounds of it, it's not sounding very healthy or happy. When we started Gamefam almost 4 years ago, blah, 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 they go on to talk about their superhero backstory, where the Avengers assembled to form a company of over 230 plus creators, earning salaries, bonuses, stock options, and benefits. We've accomplished so much, but we have so much left to do. There are still villains out there to defeat. To achieve our dreams, we have always recognized the need to have an equitably compensated team with a long-term career growth potential, and we have taken that commitment seriously and have instituted rigorous compensation practices to ensure that we fairly compensate every team member at that company. We pay our devs equitably, and we prioritize a healthy, happy work environment with tremendous support and flexibility for our teams. These are our values, and we live by them. It's not seeming very happy and equitable from the two people that have come out so far. We're saddened saddened by the outpouring of vitriol directed against our team members who do nothing but work in service of delighting players around the world. Please respect our developers and know that they are hardworking, wonderful people who want nothing but positivity in their lives. Now, I think this is a bit silly because I haven't seen one person like talking negatively about the devs at Gamefam Studios. People have been talking negative about the entire company itself, like the super high up, like how it's being run. No one's saying, oh, the developers, they're horrible. They kidnapped my family the other day and they threatened if I don't take a half pay cut, they're gonna kill them. No, they're talking about the very people at the top. And then I think this is the most ridiculous bit. I think this is so stupid. Like when you're addressing drama, I think it's the dumbest thing that you could write. They go on to talk about facts about working at Gamefam, like we're potential future hires and we might be looking for a job and they might be the people that can get that job done. The facts include salary, stock options, and quarterly bonus payouts for full-time members, flexible schedules with no mandated working hours, global remote workforce with no obligation to be in in-person office, unlimited paid time off, blah, 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 blah. They then say probably the worst paragraph I think I've ever read in my life. One of our most proudest accomplishments is that most of our hiring is from referrals by team members to their friends. That is a testament to our positive culture and that people see themselves here for the long term. If anything, that's just a huge negative. That looks like nepotism, where companies just hire out of family and friends rather than just hiring people that are fit for the job. They're just like, hey, we'll get Bobby over here. Bobby, yeah, you know, you're our third cousin. You know, you're looking for a job. Get in here. You're our family. And someone with like a bachelor's degree, like, oh no, you're not family. Sorry, we don't know you. I absolutely despise that. As someone who was looking for a job in computer science a long time ago, everyone that I saw that got hired were hired through like family members and everything. I think that is one of the worst ways to run companies because it decreases quality and increases like idiots that are in charge from my experience, because you're hiring family. If that's the quality that you're hiring and you're not looking at other qualities, that's not good. You're gonna get people who don't know what they're doing and then they themselves invite their friends over and eventually it all goes downhill, which apparently from what a lot of people are saying might be what's happening to Gamefam right now. It's like a reverse Midas touch. And they interestingly end it with, there have been no layoffs recently or ever at Gamefam. In fact, we are hiring to support growth. I think putting that in was like a sneaky dodge to the people that have been bringing stuff up recently, because from what I know, what I understand, the people that were bringing the stuff up like Alice and Digital Purgatory, they were just contractors. So I don't think you can like technically even lay off contractors. Like you just be like, no, I'm not doing any contracts anymore. That's not laying off. You can only be laid off if you work like full-time or part-time. That's just my understanding. And then they finish it off with TLDR, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for being our friends, players, and most importantly, teammates in excellence. So there you go. They don't like address any of the actual responses up close. It's just a big PR message slapped right on there, being like, you know what? Hey, we're all good here. We don't know what's going on. There's no drama. We just had our biggest week yet. Wow, in fact, this company is exploding. We don't know where all this wacky stuff is coming from. So it is not a good light on Gamefam at the moment, and like I've lost a lot of respect for them from what I've seen. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.